The pound is approaching the two targets I talked about at the beginning of this week, so I'll have the details in today's video. And also the big story today is the DXY is actually above 97.70 intraday. So we'll talk about that and whether or not the market can break out and the implications of that for the Forex market, because it could be massive. Now, if you guys do want help with your trading, be sure to join us in VIP. Check out the link in the description of this video for 85% off lifetime access. You're going to get access to real-time chat in Discord. You're also going to get trade setups every day. I just published, I believe, 3 already today. Also a trade that I just put on gold. You're going to get access to my trades in real time. Plus, you're going to get access to the full course. So again, be sure to check out that link in the description of this video. If you're on the website, click on that Join VIP link. Okay, looking at GBPUSD. So we've talked about this recently here, this trend line off of these yearly highs. So this was 2023, 2024 back here. You can see we had several touches here late May and throughout June. And then we get the pound breaking above here, and now it's closed below. So if I zoom in here, this is what we discussed here over the past few videos. So this right here, you can see where GBPUSD was testing this as resistance here. That's that trend line from 2023. And we got the break above, and you can see support through here. This failed on Monday. Now notice what got tested on Tuesday. We got the retest right there. We talked about this in VIP. Again, the benefit of being in Discord is that you get real-time updates, not just these videos I put out on YouTube. And so we had the retest here on Tuesday, and obviously a little bit of a sell-off here, although markets for the most part have been pretty tentative. And a lot of that is because of the DXY testing that 97.70 area that we've talked about, because that is a huge area for the US dollar following the June breakdown. Okay, so right now, guys, with the pound trading below 136.30, this is the area where I said as long as the market is below this, it is vulnerable. And I was looking for potentially a move down here into these blue lines here, which this is, if you're not familiar with TPO, that's time price opportunity. Essentially what these are, if you look at the 30-minute chart, there are imbalances down here on this move. Okay, so from this candle back here, there was an imbalance in the supply and demand on this move up. And you can see that here because we never got a retrace into this area. So a lot of times when you get candles like this, you can see it back here, big move up, right? The market came down here, tested this area before moving higher. You'll see this a lot where you get big candles like this. And if the market moves away without retesting it, a lot of times you'll see it come back to this area because the market is looking for that equilibrium. Okay, so right now with the pound, again, below this area up here, as long as it's below this, guys, these levels down here are exposed, which are those what are called single prints in TPO terms. So you've got 135.09 here, and you've also got 134.52. Now, the other factor here for the pound is that this lower level here, and it's hard to tell because we don't know, first of all, if these are even going to be tested. Second, when they might be tested. However, if it does happen within the next couple of days, then it could equal a retest down here of this trend line, which extends from the 2025 low. So if we move all the way back here and look at the 2025 low here for GBPUSD, you can see that really ever since the start of the year, GBPUSD is putting in higher highs and higher lows, right? It's been a massive rally here for the pound. So you can see the back here off of this low, perfect touch here, perfect off of here, and another touch here. So this trend line right here, if we move up and look at the current price action, this could come in near that second imbalance down here around 134.52. Although, like I said, it depends on when we get the retest down here, if we get the retest. But this could become a factor here by Friday or Monday if we do get the move lower. Again, nobody knows if we're going to get the retest down there or when it might happen. But as long as the pound is below, like I've said for the past few days, as long as the pound is below this area, then these imbalances down here are open for business, okay? So that's the bottom line here with GBPUSD. One other factor too, if we take a look at a 30-minute chart, I don't really trade intraday charts too much, at least, especially not 30 minutes. But this right here, if we turn on TPO for a second, you're going to see that this right here, this retest, is essentially the value area low of today's session. So that's the lower 70% of activity for today. And actually, if you take a merged value, a composite of these last few TPO periods, you actually get a value area low right through here as well. So essentially, guys, over the past 3 days for the pound, this right here is going to be resistance right here on the 30-minute chart, right around 135.70. Now, the issue, though, with looking for shorts here, and this doesn't mean that it won't happen. It doesn't mean it won't play out. It doesn't mean you can't short the pound. But the issue, though, is that the DXY is once again testing 97.70 today. So this is the DXY daily time frame, and you can see where we have the trend line here that we've talked about off of that February high. This has been a very well-defined trend line all year long. The DXY has been unable to break above this. Now, the interesting development here today, so far is we are early afternoon here in the US, and this is probably the most progress that bulls have made above this level on a day, okay? Because, I mean, other times when we've seen the market touch this level, it's sold off immediately. So I have yet to see the DXY this far above this trend line down here at this point in the day. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to break out above it because obviously there's still, a few hours left in today's session. But right now, guys, the fact that the DXY continues to press this area, in fact, today's high was a new high for July, so that's also saying something there. The fact that the DXY, though, is unable to sell off from here, it keeps pressuring it, I think is kind of a bullish signal here. However, at the same time, what you need to have is the DXY closing above this area around 97.70 and not 97.75. That's not going to cut it. We need something very convincing back above this area. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, if you saw the video from, I believe, yesterday that I talked about this trend line right here, right? This is what we talked about off of these lows here. So what I talked about in that video is the fact that we had this candle right back here. And at the time, the DXY was up here in this area. Now, what I said is that we could see a retrace into this candle, a retest of this trend line. And that's exactly what we got. And now we're back to 97.70. So for the most part, even though the market is very sideways, it is holding up technically. And also, as I said, pressuring once again this region through here. Okay, so still resistance for the DXY. I don't want to make any kind of forecasts or assumptions that the market is going to break out. I also don't want you guys getting confused about this because the fact is that until we get some high time frame closes above this area, if we were to get that, then that would confirm it. Okay, but in the meantime, this is going to be key resistance here for the dollar. Now, with that said, does that mean that I would try to short the dollar from here? Absolutely not, because like I said, it isn't really backing off from here. And a lot of times when you see this, it does mean that a potential breakout higher is coming. And furthermore, like I said, that trend line that has been intact all year long, okay, all the way back here from February, this trend line is starting to give out. Okay, the market is trading, well above this right now. So we're going to see where the DXY closes here today, but it does look like we could have potentially the first break above that trend line all year long. So that is something to be aware of if you're trading the pound or the euro. Okay, so looking again at the pound, guys, obviously it's been a very choppy market this week. We have seen a downtrend, lower highs and lower lows, but for the most part, it's been very back and forth. And again, that all circles back to the DXY below 97.70. Okay, so these markets are trying to figure themselves out here. But I do think, like I said, as long as the market is below 136.30, the pound here, GBPUSD, and we're carving these lower highs and lower lows, then I think areas like this down here around 135.09, potentially this area, this pocket down here around 134.50 or so could be targets here for the pound. All right, so getting closer to it. The last time I talked about this, I believe we were up here in this area. So we are getting closer to those targets, guys. Just be aware, though, like I said, very choppy conditions here on the way down. So just be really careful with these markets. And again, the big story today, the big story this week really, is going to be the DXY up here at 97.70. What do we get here over the coming days? Can the market close a day above it? Can it close this week above it? If so, then we could start to see some US dollar strength. I hope this video has helped, guys. Be sure to join us in VIP, claim your 85% off lifetime access. See the link in the description of this video. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and smash that like button. I will talk to you again tomorrow.